Good evening. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for What Makes the Academy Exceptional. Tonight's chat is going to focus on all things as it pertains to residential and student affairs. They have tremendous information to share with you tonight. And one of the things that I think makes this program so awesome is that you get to have your questions answered. Let me first start by introducing myself in case we haven't had an opportunity to meet yet. I'm Jo Tuite and I direct the Office of Admissions, and I'm going to be your host for this evening. If you're watching this here in the Zoom room and you have questions, you can feel free to unmute and ask, or you can drop those questions in the chat box. If you drop them in the chat box, you do have the option of dropping them to everybody or just directly to me, and I can present them for you. If you're watching this on social media, if you'll drop your questions into the comments section, I'll be sure to get an answer back for you.
Yeah.
So with those directions, let's jump in and get started, shall we? Let's do some introductions. Mr. Fetters, would you mind kicking us off with that?
Sure thing, Joe. Hi, my name is Bridger Fetters. I'm the Associate Director of Residential and Student Affairs at the Indiana Academy. I've been in this role for 5 years now. And I was previously a student life counselor, which means I lived in the dorm with the students, putting on activities, programs, hanging out, all that kind of stuff. But now I supervise our residential staff on all the day-to-day things. I do get to interact with students here and there. I'm in the office during the day where our live-in staff are in during the afternoon and evening. So when things are going on during the day, myself and our director, Paul Douglas, are often the people who you'll interact with when you need something around the dorm. And then, yeah, we've got nurse and mental health people and others there throughout the day as well. But yeah, I love the academy. I've worked there about 8 or 9 years total now between a couple different roles. I'm really excited to start to get to know a whole new batch of students. So.
Hi, my name's Dakota Niles. I'm a student life team leader here at the Indiana Academy. I've been working here for 2 years, and before this, I was an economics teacher at Purdue Polytechnic for 2 years. I really love the academy. It's got a awesome residential environment. As Bridger mentioned, there our student life staff, we put on a lot of programs and activities for the students in the evenings and on the weekends. So I kind of oversee the staff here in the evenings and everything when Bridger and Paul leave for the day, and then oversee each of the activities and everything that goes on here. So.
Great. Thank you both so much for those introductions. Just as a quick reminder for those here in the Zoom room to ask a question, you can just drop those in the chat box, either to me personally or to everyone in the group, or you can unmute and ask your questions. And if you're watching this on social media, just drop those questions in the comments. So who wants to be the first person to ask a question? As you're thinking about those questions and preparing to ask them, I do have one that I've received from a parent. So let me go ahead and toss that one out to you both to get us started. This parent asks, I don't want my student to miss out on traditional school experiences such as ball games and dances and the prom. Does the academy offer anything like this?
Yeah, we definitely have a prom each year that our student life staff we put together and coordinate. It's at a different venue there. The 2 years I've been. Last year we were in the student center, which is kind of like Ball State's big. Like they have a lot of meeting rooms and conference rooms in there. And there's a giant meeting hall that we decorated. It was Enchanted Garden was the theme last year, and our staff actually they built a whole waterfall that was made out of cardboard boxes. It was really cool, and it had a lot of lights and everything. And then we had a DJ and everything there. For ball games and everything, we coordinate transpo to a lot of things, which is just transportation. So if your student is on the athletics teams, will, if they're around the county or like a lot of games are on Ball State's campus, we'll take them to the fields to practice and then also participate in everything. A lot of our other students will like jump on like Ball State's transportation buses to head to the fields there when the actual like games are going on and everything there. So
yeah, and we have a number of other events throughout the year. So, like Dakota said, most of the type of events you'd think of at your typical high school we have a prom, we have a winter dance, we have a like a little siblings family weekend coming up here soon. We have a big competition weekend in the first semester where we divide the students up, the whole school up into 4 groups, and they participate in a bunch of, we call it a catathon or Olympiad or that sort of thing, and they all compete against each other. But yeah, there's, we just had our girls and boys basketball teams both had their senior nights, and we had students walking over to the gym down the street for that. We're getting ready to start baseball season. And so, yeah, most of the things you'd think of, going to a sporting event, having a dance, hanging out with your friends on the weekend. You're going to experience a lot of the same stuff. Our students can participate in some things that we don't have by joining Burris, which is our sister school right next door. They have athletic teams and a band and an orchestra and a choir and all sorts of stuff. So there are opportunities. And then on top of that, we're part of Ball State University, and students can actually participate in a number of university level things of that nature as well. So we are in a place surrounded by opportunity, but also with a lot of the sort of traditional things you'd expect a high school to have.
Okay, thank you. This next question is really good. The question is, do you have speech and debate, and what other clubs do you have?
Go ahead, Dakota.
Do we do have regular clubs and everything there, teachers and SLCs here, the student life counselors. We coordinate those and sponsor them. One of the ones I'm most familiar with there is DECA. They have meetings and competitions throughout the state, and the staff on that team, we always coordinate their like transportation, like whether that be a bus to take them down to Indianapolis for their competition and everything. Other clubs we have here can range from a lot of things. We let the students make up the ideas for them and everything. So like we have a number of gaming clubs. We have an art club where they do painting every week. And then they can also be just like my students have a club where they meet and talk about like different topics that happened throughout the month there, whether it be
Yeah,
on.
there's some unique ones this year. We've got a tea club where they try a different tea every week and meet and talk. There's a lot of gaming clubs. I see Joe's posting a link that has a list of some of the frequent clubs that we have and some of the ones specific to this year. There's various student interest groups. I know the original question about speech and debate. I don't know that we have a speech and debate team this year. That kind of depends on student interest. The closest thing we had to that this year was our ethics bowl team, which went to the state competition and placed really well there. And we have a lot of those, what the sort of traditional school competitions, Quiz Bowl, Academic Super Bowl, DECA, Beta. I won't think of that many more, but there are a lot more. And students have the opportunity to take leadership in those clubs for us, organize them, arrange a sponsor. But then our various administrative offices obviously are there to step in and help too with the stuff that needs the school's involvement to get it sorted out and arranged and booked and all those sorts of things. So our teams are often very successful. Our Quiz Bowl team just qualified for nationals here recently, and are practicing. Their season continued past state, so they're continuing to practice, which is exciting as well.
Great, thank you. The next question is, what does a typical day look like for a residential student? And would you mind also comparing that for the non-residential student as well?
Yeah, I can jump in on this. So it's a little bit hard to answer a typical day compared to like the high school I went to in Indiana, because the academy functions on much more of like a college schedule. So your class schedule, which is going to be the first thing you do, is going to vary from day to day. But we'll start with you wake up. We are a residential school and your parents aren't here, so you wake yourself up. There's nobody coming to knock on your door to get you out of bed. And so you've got to plan your own schedule, set your alarms, get up, get showered, and get breakfast if you're on top of everything before you head off to your first class. But that first class might start at 8 a.m., it might start at 10 a.m., it might start at noon. Often for our students, their busy class days will be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, where they're more likely to have 5 or 6 hour-long classes. Usually their first one will be 8 or 9. Where on Tuesday, Thursday, you might have like a lab and one other class and only have stuff in the afternoon, or something like that. But it's like college where you kind of plan out your schedule and it looks a little different each semester from the rest. As far as meals go, so for breakfast, you can eat at any dining hall on the campus of Ball State University, which is a fairly big campus. So there's the student center right across the street, which is probably where our students eat the majority of meals, just for convenience sake. But there's North Dining, which just opened up a brand new full service Chick-fil-A to go alongside its Starbucks, and some other stuff, a bunch of different like nutritious options, and a grill, and I won't think of everything in there, but and then there's various other residence halls that have dining facilities. So you can kind of pick and choose. There's a lot of variety on campus, but you got to plan out your schedule. But then you go to class. In between classes, you may have a break where you come back over to our building, hang out with your friends or study in one of the lounges in between classes. But that's kind of how the day part goes. You've got, meals and classes that you're going to. Our classes are in the building next door to our dorm, so it's just about a 90-second walk over to the building that has the classes in it. So it's easy to go back and forth between classes if you have a break or want to head to a meal. But that's kind of how you get through the morning and afternoon. And that's the part of the day where I'm there, but I'll let Dakota talk about, kind of what a typical day looks like. But the part I just talked about, that's what your day is going to look like if you're a non-residential student as well, right? You're going to come drive into our building. You'll be able to go back and forth between the dorm building, where there's lounges and places to study and rest and eat, and then over to the building next door where your classes are held. And you can kind of go back and forth between those two places in between your classes as needed. And then you get to the end of your class day and you live there and you come back to the dorm.
Yeah, and for the evening, it's similar of like the students build their own schedules, and to refer back to the clubs, a lot of clubs are in the evening. We do have some like labs that can go all the way to 9 p.m. at night there, but that's normally pretty rare. It's normally like astronomy, where they're waiting to like see the night sky and everything. But a typical evening is just students unwinding from the day, just chatting with each other in the lounge and everything. And then we have our face check that they need to be to at 6:30 and 10:30 at night, which is just, we like to see students at least like a couple of times a day there in person, in between things in their schedule. All of our newer students are required to have a study session in the evening. That's from 9 p.m. to 10:30. And this is just a time during the day that they can coordinate either in groups or individually in their rooms, to where we know they are given time there to study for classes, work on homework, work together on projects, stuff like that. And then at the end of the night, we have just a floor curfew from 10:30 to 12, where they're required to just kind of like be on their floor, no longer in the lounge, until 12 o'clock, when we have room curfew and lock down the floors and everything for the night. So.
And throughout the evening, there's going to be different things going on every day. Like we said, our SLCs sometimes have planned programs, there's clubs meeting, there's an athletic event going on, or people are just going out to walk around campus, study in, one of the nice open areas of Ball State, go over to the university's library. There's always plenty of stuff going on as well to do.
Before I grab these next couple of questions, would you all mind sharing a little bit about the weekends? I know I love getting the emails on, I think it's Friday, with all the themed items that are coming for the next couple of days. Would you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Yeah, I can jump into our. I think the easiest way is to just give an example of our last weekend here was just a sci-fi theme, and a lot of the times we'll pick a theme and then plan programming and activities throughout the weekend planned on the theme there. So, like in programming is just like set activities. They normally last about like an hour long, and these can be from educational to just like fun games that we're playing. So for this last weekend, the educational program we had on was just kind of a one of our SLCs went into cyberpunk like literature and everything, and kind of had a discussion with the kids about it. We also watched a few sci-fi movies, and then kind of talked about them afterwards and everything. And then activities throughout the weekend range from board games that were themed, or we just played capture the flag one afternoon there in the backyard area here outside and everything. But each weekend we choose a different theme and then try to base all the programming and activities around it. And a lot of times we base them around kind of like what we think kids will be interested in. I know I personally will ask my students before picking a theme on my weekends so that I know that I can get something that kids are interested in for the weekend there.
I absolutely love the themes you all come up with. They're so creative. I have to be honest, I've borrowed a few to use with my own kids at times. So thank you for that. The next two questions, they're not necessarily related, but I'm going to toss them both out there together. The first part of it is, do we have athletics? And the second question I'm going to toss out there is, my family lives 2.5 hours away. Can I have a car on campus?
So I can chime in on those. First of all, we do have athletics. Burris Laboratory School and the Academy have joint athletics. So it's two small schools. They're located right next door to each other. And between the two schools, we have enough to field any number of IHSAA teams. The one thing we don't have, I'll just say it now, is we don't have football, and that's often a thing that people expect they'll miss, but there's a lot going on in the fall otherwise for us, to where don't worry, your Friday nights will have plenty to do. But other than football, we pretty much have all the sports you'd think of, and they're all official IHSAA: swimming, diving, tennis, soccer, baseball, basketball. There's a golf team some years if there's enough interest. And then if there's another sport you play that I didn't say, there's a good chance we have it. And if there hasn't been an active team in it, our athletic directors always can get registered for something. I know we don't always have a gymnastics team, and yet when we have a couple students who have competed in gymnastics previously, you could still compete under the Burris Academy umbrella in all the state competitions. As well. And there's plenty of facilities on campus, since we're part of a major university, for any sport. And so whatever it is, we have the facilities available and can figure out how to make things happen. So we definitely do have athletics. As to the second question, our students typically are not able to have cars on campus. Actually, the main reason for this is because there's just not enough parking around. And so the good news is there's plenty of public transportation for anything local. So there's a shuttle that takes you anywhere on Ball State's campus. There's local buses for Muncie. There's a lot of other transportation options. And as Dakota mentioned, we'll provide transportation for a variety of different things. For students who live very far away, or for students who have some other particular need where they've got to have a car, that's something that once you're admitted and come into the academy, I'm the person you'll talk to. And we do have a limited ability for special situations, for families that have a demonstrated need to provide access to parking and allow people to have a car. But that's something that we do. Sometimes it's for a family very far away, or for a family who has some particular challenge that makes it hard to pick up the student. We do have options for that. So.
Thank you. The next question. My daughter has a peanut allergy and will be residential if she attends. How do we handle that?
Yeah, good question. My 4-year-old daughter has a pretty severe peanut allergy, so I'm at least familiar with how that goes. We've had a number of students with any number of allergies live in our dorm throughout the year. Every year at the beginning, part of our residential staff training is sitting down with the nurse for a couple of days out of our several week training that we do. And one of the things we do is talk about how to work the front desk and be around the floor. And she will know all the allergens coming in, so we make our staff aware of all those things. The great news is Ball State Dining, being again part of a major university campus, has a lot of resources and options available. There's actually in North Dining, which is the newest dining hall, a specific like allergen kitchen where they'll have different menus every day. Ball State hires a full-time nutritionist who our students have access to. So whether you have a specific dietary need or an allergy, we'll get you connected with that person right away as soon as you're on campus. Your student can meet directly with them, and they'll talk you through what options are available, which dining halls, will have certain things for you. They can work directly with the kitchens to make options available to you. The other thing we do inside our dorm is for any sort of large scale event, like we've got a street food night coming up, and we do like Chinese New Year or things like that, where we have students or people preparing food on their own. So part of the requirement to host any event like that in our building is to send a plan to our school nurse, whose name is Nikki, and she'll review the plans and provide reminders on if there's any allergens to be aware of, and then we require people to like post ingredient lists if they're making things themselves. So what I can definitely say is I've been around the school for about 10 years. We've had kids with allergies every year, and so we've got a lot of practice and things in place to try and make it as safe an environment as we can for everybody.
And I believe I may have cut you off on the last question, but I was answering another question online, so I'm not sure. Did you respond to the parent who has a 2.5 hour drive in the car? Okay, you did. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yep. And I can mention one more thing on that, though. A lot of times, since our students come from all over the state, there are often going to be other families coming from near where you are. And once you get here, and after the first few breaks of the year, when people learn who each other are, we do end up with a lot of people carpooling as well, or taking turns, so you don't have to make that drive as often. And so we have a tight-knit community of families most years. We have a parent organization that'll like work out carpools and all that, and help you get connected online with other people who can help with those things too.
Thank you. Let's see, the next question we have here is, I plan to be a residential student. How often do I get to go home?
Gotcha. I mean, that can just depend on the student because they're allowed to be signed out to go home whenever their parents would like there. For scheduled breaks, we normally have one. I mean, I feel like it's been more frequent this year. We had one at least like once a month or once every couple months there. We have like the major breaks there, like fall break, spring break, winter break, and everything. But then we'll just give students like a weekend that we call an extended weekend to just have everyone clear out of the dorms there for a weekend to go home and be at home away from school there for the weekend and everything. But if students would like to go home more often, we have a whole system where they are signed out on permission forms that we call gold forms there. And the parents just coordinate with us there of who's going to pick them up, where they'll be, and everything, so that we have a good two-way communication of where the student will be at.
Yeah, and I'd say most students, obviously, as Dakota mentioned, roughly once a month, there's a weekend or a break where you have to go home. I'd say most students stay for more than half of the weekends where we stay. There are certainly some students every year who are still connected to things at home, or maybe part of some organization at home where for a few months of the year they're going home more frequently, but there's no requirements on how often you have to stay on the weekends. What we like to think instead is we try to make it fun enough on the weekends that you'll want to stay, and make that a tough decision for you. But you're certainly welcome to go home, and your parents can sign you out whenever it makes sense.
Thank you. We have several different versions of this question, but all pertaining to all things roommate. Can you talk about roommates, how we're selected? Can they have private rooms? All that good stuff.
I can jump in on that a little bit and feel free to chime in, Dakota. How are roommates selected? There's a couple things that go into that, but as you go through the process of getting admitted to the academy, you'll eventually start to get a bunch of paperwork that you fill out online. But one of the things that we have you do around the time that you come for orientation is our roommate questionnaire. And so that's a sort of comprehensive survey that's now online where you'll answer a bunch of questions about everything from how clean do you keep your room to what time do you like to get up in the morning and go to bed to what kind of music do you like. And there's even a little personality inventory we have you take. And we use all that information. I'm typically doing this over the summer in between the school years with help from a couple other people. We use our best process we can to compare all that information. There's certain things we prioritize that hopefully from 30 years of experience we've learned a little bit about how to do this, where we do our best to put you with somebody who will be a good fit and not create a lot of problems. If you already know as a student coming in that there's someone you want to room with, you have the option to do that as well, and we'll let you do that. Like this year, we had a junior coming in who had a cousin here who was a senior and they wanted to room together, and all they had to do was send each other's names in to us, and that was done. So we try and make that easy. But we have plenty of roommates who we've paired. And then the good news is we provide a lot of support, right? Getting along with a roommate can be a challenging thing. Some students have shared a room with a sibling their whole life. Some have never shared a room with anyone before, but regardless, you're coming to a new place, having new experiences, meeting new people, and they don't all come from the same place as you or the same set of experiences. So we train our SLC staff on some mediation techniques. We have a process that we call roommate contracts, where the staff will work with you and your roommate at the beginning of the year to talk through some common issues and try and come to some common ground on what your expectations for each other will be. And then we can refer back to that, revise it later. As far as the question for what sort of options are there, we expect everybody to have a roommate coming in, and we'll pair you up. If somebody has a particular like medical need or a disability or something that would require some accommodations for the room, then you just let us know that in the process as you're getting registered to the school, and we've got facilities to work with anybody and everybody on making sure you get an appropriate room situation. So.
Yeah. I also want to add that with roommate situations, a lot of us are very proactive on trying to help people get to know each other at the beginning of the year, and then encouraging them to kind of like just get to know each other outside of school, like go to the dining halls together and everything, or just chiming in and talking to students, checking in with them each night, just seeing how everything's going.
Your student life counselors or SLCs are really going to be some of the most important people in your lives, and I don't mean that to sound dramatic, but it's very true for the couple of years that you're with us, because they are those people that are there with you in the evening, and they're checking in on you and answering questions and planning lots of great activities, and their list of responsibilities go on and on, but they're truly going to be that very close point of contact for you while you're here. So thank you very much for the answers on that. Next question is, can you go to things at Ball State? I'm guessing probably thinking about plays and games and things like that.
Yes, the students can attend a lot of things on Ball State's campus there. I know I frequently will take students to like symphonies and other things that Ball State holds. Like they still have Ball State still has rules around like tickets and everything, whether it's student pricing or like if the students fall in other categories and everything. Our students do have to check in there to see if they fall into the student categories for different events, because sometimes Ball State doesn't do that, like for their Emmons events and things. But they can still attend like games, plays, any kind of like recreational events or anything like that there. I can't think of if I'm forgetting anything there, Bridger.
Sorry, I was typing a response to one of the questions in the chat. But yeah, so some things are free and quite a number of things are free. Obviously, if there's some like big speaker coming in, or like they did a filming of a Price is Right section a couple years ago, like there weren't any free tickets available for that, some of the really high demand things. But students often get discounted tickets. And like Dakota said, we'll have staff organize trips like to the planetarium or to one of the shows, but students are also free to just show up to those things or arrange for tickets in advance. Most of the facilities of Ball State are available to our students. We've got Ball Gym down the street that students can use to work out, play basketball, other things. The university library is available to our students during all of its hours, the dining facilities and everything like we said. But yeah, shows, events, athletic events, you'll have opportunities to see all of those things as part of All State. So.
Thank you. And I know you just answered this in the chat, but I am going to mention it so that those that are watching it later on social media can get the answer to this question. And that is, are there laundry facilities available to students? And I know our students have talked to me a little bit about the Cool app. If you could maybe mention a little bit about that too.
Yeah, so our laundry facilities they use this app called Speed Queen there. So it makes it real easy to pay for all of the dryers and washers are numbered. So you just kind of put in the information and then how much time you want to pay for and everything. But like Bridger said in the chat here, we have 3 laundry facilities throughout the building, one for each like group of floors there. We have one for the first and fourth floor students, and then one for the second and third floor students. And then we have a bigger laundry room that's kind of depends on the day of which students it's accommodated to until it's closed on Sundays there. So.
And then we have like a change machine in the lobby, but we don't have to use it as much. Like Dakota mentioned with the app, parents can even just like load money straight onto the app for their student with a credit card, which has made it a lot easier the last few years. So students can just go do laundry when they need to instead of needing to worry about finding a $10 bill and turn it into 40 quarters and all that sort of stuff.
Thank you. I'm going to reword this next question just a little bit. So to the person that submitted this, if I don't catch exactly what you were meaning by it, just let me know, okay? And I'll restate it. But the question is, I'm sorry, it just scrolled past me. Let me pull it back. Let me try to pull it back up. What the question is basically, if they have a roommate and they're not getting along, can they switch to another room? And what's the process for that?
Yeah, so switching is never our first option if there starts to be a little bit of problem, but you know, there obviously any number of situations could come up and there are options for anything. But the first thing that happens if you're having trouble with your roommate is we're going to ask you to talk with the SLC who's on your floor, who's assigned to you, and they're going to try and help. Now, what we did this year, which was actually something new that will probably continue, is if people are having significant problems throughout the first semester, we did sort of a big, I don't know what to call it, repairing in the middle of the year. You know, out of a couple hundred students in our dorm, there were like 15 or 20, you know, who some had a roommate situation change outside of their control. Some of them were just really struggling to get along and had tried their best and couldn't make it work. And we kind of took that smaller group of students and kind of put them in a pool and then came up with some new pairings from that and reassigned some rooms. So we understand it's not always going to work out because, yeah, sometimes people just have differences that are hard to resolve. We do our best to pair you with somebody who it's going to work out, but then if it doesn't, you know, we'll reevaluate and find a good situation for you. And so that's probably the short answer to that question. Dakota, feel free to chime in too there.
Yeah, I mean, I can just talk through the process of when 2 students come to me that are struggling there. We just set up a meeting there, and a lot of the time it's just kind of like the students just need to express their concerns with each other in that kind of like controlled environment where we can talk it out plainly. and resolve things there. Very rarely, I feel like things escalate to a level where we need to be talking with Bridger here or talking about like switching rooms or anything like that.
Great, thank you. Next question is, can my friend from home spend the night?
So the short answer to that question is unfortunately no. Our dorm, the actual dorm floors where the students live, is a shared space for a bunch of people who have to call that home for 10 months out of the year. And so we do protect that space pretty directly. And so the only visitors that are allowed when we're in residence are like your family, and that's just for like a brief visit to help you carry stuff outstairs and back out. Obviously, you're going to live there, and we want the people who live there to be able to kind of expect and know who's going to be there in their private space throughout the year. Now, your friends are welcome to come and visit the academy and be all around campus and all of the public spaces in our building. They can sign in, hang out with you in the lounges, participate in stuff out in the backyard. But when it comes to the actual floor where the bathrooms and the dorm rooms are, we do kind of keep that space sealed off for the students who live there.
So the next question is coming in from a parent, and this parent actually lives 4 hours away. So their child will be residential, and they're wondering how parents from that distance are able to still stay involved with the school, with their child, and kind of work with the staff.
Yep. I mean, we do talk to parents frequently there. I know I personally send out just a general newsletter each month there just to keep parents updated with what's going on with this school and everything. But I talk to different parents for my students on a regular basis just to keep them updated with how their students doing, how like big things are going on, like athletics especially. I'll let parents know just in case like they don't know like a game's coming up or anything like that, just to keep them updated on their student's life, especially if you're 4 hours away. I know that that can be hard on some parents, so I like to keep them as updated as I can throughout the year, just in case their student isn't checking in as much as they'd like them to there. But yeah, Bridger.
Yeah, when you show up for move-in day, if you're a residential student, one of the things that'll happen during that day is you'll meet all of the SLCs who are going to be on the floor where your student lived, and they'll hand you a schedule of when all of their hours are and who works which day and who has what day off. So you will always have a phone number that you can call for somebody who's working that day, who knows what's going on. On top of that, our front desk is staffed 24 hours a day when students are in the building. So at the drop of a hat, even if you don't know who to call, there's one number and you call that number and you'll get somebody who's just a walkie-talkie away from somebody who can, check in with your kid or have them call you. And we even do some of that of like, hey, my kid's not answering the phone. Yep, let me run upstairs and tell him to call you. And so, the distance we know can be tough. We try to make it as easy as possible, for you to feel connected. And like Dakota said, the SLCs are sending out newsletters, but they're also just calling you and available for you to call. Different parents, some parents want to be called every day and be in the loop. Some parents, just want a newsletter here and there. And all our SLCs will like work with you on what the right balance is for you to feel like you're getting the information you need.
Just to add a little bit, there are some other opportunities where you can get involved and stay involved through our Indiana Academy Parents Organization, or IAPO. They have a very active Facebook page that once your student is admitted, the parents, you can be accepted to that page, and they communicate a lot through that. We actually did a program not long ago with the president of the IAPO. I was just checking to see if it posted yet to our social media. It hasn't. So I've got your name here, so I will go ahead and send you the link to that program. If anybody else wants it, just send me a quick little message in the chat box and I'll make sure to send you that as well. But the president kind of talks about some of the ways that they work with our students and with our staff, and the ways that the parents can get involved with that. So
yeah, we really
Bridget, did you
appreciate
have
the
something
parents.
to
No,
add?
we really appreciate the parents organization. They do a lot of great stuff every year. They do like treat nights where parents can order stuff for their students before finals week, and they've done some like staff appreciation stuff. They help throw our after prom every year. They've funded some events this year that like students came up with an idea and we didn't have it, money for it. And the parent organization stepped in a couple times to be like, hey, we want to help make this happen. So that's always really excited. I thought of another thing as well, just as far as staying connected. Our academic affairs folks do a good job as well. Obviously, our teachers all have like specific office hours where you don't have to wait for a certain time to meet them or check in. Like you can just call during the day. But on top of that, we have parent teacher conferences a couple times a year. And actually, on the first break of the year, we have what's called Shadow Day, where parents can even come and like attend some of the classes with their student and really get a feel for and understand what being an academy student looks like. So we try to have opportunities spread throughout the year for parents to be able to feel connected to what's going on.
Great, thank you. The next question is focusing on academy service, community service, and they didn't mention it, but maybe wellness too would be good to add in there.
Yeah, for sure there. So I'll start with academy service. That's just hours that the students need to earn throughout their time here of just helping out around the academy. So that can range from like cleaning up around the lounge each night, helping coordinate like laundry sign up things, or helping out a teacher like set up for a lab or anything like that. I know our front desk manager, Anna Samuelson, she always needs help like filing things or getting our we have this giant board game cabinet that always gets in disarray there that she needs help getting back in order. Community service there is any help that students are doing in the outside of the academy. So that can be in like local organizations like soup kitchens or I'm trying to think, like the Muncie Mission up here is a big one that a lot of students will volunteer at. I know one of my students frequently volunteers for his church organizations there on break there. But it can be a daunting 50 hours to get when students first start here. So we always, since it's something that the students are coordinating and taking on a lot of themselves there outside the academy, we help them any way we can by providing hours and opportunities when we can. Like this year, we started community service weekends where we coordinate about like 14 to 20 hours for the weekend to help the student get in touch there with different things around the Muncie community to help them get their hours knocked out and all those requirements done. Just back in February here, I took a lot of students to the Muncie Missions Walk a Mile event. That was really popular, and we got to meet a lot of people in the community.
Yeah, and that same weekend, we had some folks doing some just like cleanup around the area. We had a group of students make over 100 meals that we dropped off the next morning at the local food shelter. And so, yeah, I think just our staff this year, just in the stuff we've offered, like on site or we've provided transportation to, there's been like 60 to 80 hours of community service we've offered that you can just participate in by looking around for what's going on around you. And then we have a lot of students who have opportunities back home, and they're welcome to participate in those as well to earn their hours. The third category is wellness, and we've talked a little bit about the programs we offer. But in order to earn your wellness credits, there's 5 different categories of wellness. You have to earn a certain number in each category. So we have some diversity programs, cultural programs, vocational programs where you learn about like some skill or area of employment, and then emotional, spiritual programs and physical programs. So we try to have a wide range of stuff. Our staff and sometimes the teachers and other folks around school will just put on a whole wide range of events. Over the course of your time as a student, there will be like 300 wellness opportunities offered, and you only have to get 30 credits to finish your requirements. So you really do get to pick the stuff you're interested in, and that looks fun and that fits into your schedule. So we hope it's pretty attainable.
Just as a quick reminder to everybody here in the Zoom room, if you have questions, go ahead and drop those in the chat box. We have about 15 minutes remaining in our program, so I don't want you to miss out on getting your questions answered. And if you're watching on social media, drop those questions into the comments and I'll be sure to get the answer for you. And let's see, let me move on to the next question here. This one is coming in from a student who has concerns about leaving her family and wants to know if you have any advice or suggestions on how to make that easier for her and or her family.
Yeah, that's a tough part for some people of becoming an academy student. And so every student who chooses to come to the academy is going to be leaving some things behind, whether it's things at your home school, you know, friends, things you've gotten attached to, but family is often one of the tougher parts of that. Like we talked about earlier, there's a lot of ways to stay connected. You have a lot of freedom. And while, as we talked about earlier, you can go home as often as you want, often it's healthy to like really, if you want to do that transition well, you want to make some new connections at the academy. So part of the advice I give is actually don't go home a bunch at the beginning of the year. We have so many activities, the welcome dance, a catathon a few weekends in, tons of programs at the beginning of the year, often little trips and outdoor activities and stuff like that. The weather's usually nice right when we get started there in August, September. And so, you know, part of the best advice for that is to dive right into things when you get to the academy and make some connections here. As scary as it is for each family that drops off their student, just remember every other family's in that same situation. They're starting something new. That kid is going to be needing to make new friends and new connections as well. And so you can really look at it as an opportunity to seize. And everybody kind of starts on a level playing field there as far as, you know, whatever it is you're going through as a student when you start at the academy, there's probably somebody right next door, right down the hall who's feeling a similar way. So we encourage people to talk, reach out. And then, like we've said a couple times, we have staff living right there in the building with the students who are there to help, who have training to help, who are going to give you good advice, help reassure you, help you come up with ways, you know, mechanisms to help you navigate through the tougher times, but also be there to call your parents with you and help have a conversation, you know, about what's going on and talk you through it when those tough times come. But you know, we really feel like we have a safe, secure, and really exciting environment that you get to come to and be a part of. So, you know, it's worth it at the end, but don't want to downplay that. Of course, it's going to be tough. You know, for parents, in some cases, you're letting your kid head off to sort of like head off to college 2 years earlier than you thought, right? Maybe the academy's sort of a new idea that just came up recently and you thought it was going to be 2 years more before, you know, your baby was heading out of the house, and now here they go off to this great opportunity. And we know that we're used to working with families, and we'll work with you to make sure, you know, you have all the information you need. And if you know, if somebody needs to go home for a few days, you know, we'll work with you on that too.
Yeah. I did want to add detail there for the beginning of the year. Us SLCs there, we understand a lot of what students are going through. So always stay connected with us, and we can help you connect with other students and groups and everything else here, or just chat with you and your parents if you need that too.
Great, thank you. The next question is kind of talking about the residence hall. And the question is, my brother has 2 roommates and they have a private restroom. Will we have a private restroom as well?
Go ahead.
Oh, sure thing. Sadly, we do not there. Each of our floors have two restrooms, and they're community restrooms there. But both on each floor are sizable there, so that I can't think of the exact number of like facilities and everything in them, but it's definitely enough for all the students on the floor to be able to share the community restrooms and everything. And then when you're in the public areas, we also have regular restrooms that you can use.
Yeah, I think there's about 6 shower stalls in each
Yeah.
restroom and two restrooms on each floor. I consistently over the years that we check with students every year on this, we don't find that people are waiting in line for showers or anything like that. Part of that's because talked about earlier where not everybody starts class at the same time, right? If all the classes started at 7:47, everybody would be trying to shower at the same time. But thankfully, somebody's got class at 8, somebody at 9, somebody at 10. And so we don't have a lot of congestion in the restrooms. Everything's in stalls, right? The showers are individual stalls with curtains and all that as well. I don't know what everybody's college experience was for parents listening to that, but it's all private within a public restroom.
And I'll just add in there because I usually get this as a follow-up question. The showers are private, so they have shower curtains. So it's not like you see in the old movies on TV or the horror movies where it's a big group shower area. These are private shower stalls for you to use. So let's see. We have time for just maybe one or two more questions. So get those in there if you have them. This next question is I know that we move in on one day and classes don't start for a couple more days. What happens between on those days before classes start? Sorry, I'm having trouble reading tonight, guys. I think you get the gist of the question. If you could mention the differences for our non-residential students as well.
Oh, no worries there. Those days are actually like some of our more residentially like structured days, as we have a lot more events on those days than we do on others because we want to help encourage students to get to know each other. So we have a lot of activities for students to attend. They also have informational sessions there. I know Bridger and Paul there will put on a lot of events during the day, as well as our academic staff and everything, just so students know as much information as they can know going into the year. And then in the evening, residential staff kind of take over. We'll put on a number of programs that are, some of them are educational, like teaching students how about the transportation system, how to use the laundry facilities, and then just group activities to where students can get to know each other, type things. And then we'll also put on our own residential informational events in the evening as well, just to give like kind of a rundown there. And then
Yeah, and on the first weekend, we always do a welcome back dance on Saturday night. So basically, the way it works is brand new students move in on Wednesday. You'll spend that Wednesday going through stuff with your parents, big informational sessions, a floor meeting at the end of the night where the SLCs are going to tell you all the nitty-gritty details you need to know, including things like what are you going to do if there's a fire alarm? Because believe it or not, the first night it could go off. We hope it doesn't, but there's just a lot of information you need to know that first day. And then, as Dakota mentioned, Thursday, a lot of informational sessions, maybe catching up on advising, campus tours, and then programs and fun in the evening with the SLCs. Friday is when all the returning students move in. So when you're a new student, you get a couple days to like learn things before all the veterans show up, right? The returning students from the previous year who are going to think they run the place, but you'll at least have had a couple days to like get used to things and get your feet under you. And then, yeah, right away that first Friday night, we have a big dance. And out in the yard if the weather cooperates. And then over the weekend, just a lot of fun stuff. The SLCs get to sort of flex their programming and activity skills there because hopefully, the weather's nice, get outdoors, make some new friends. We have a group of students called PAs, peer assistants, who move in a little bit early, and their task those first few days is to help all the new students get acclimated, make friends, show them how to get to the dining hall and all that. So it's sort of multifaceted, right? You'll have administrators and teachers and folks telling you stuff you need to know. You'll have the SLCs helping you have fun and get acclimated to the dorm. And then you'll even have some student helpers sort of stepping in there to help you understand what it's like to be a kid at the academy and walk you through all that.
Thank you. All right, last chance. Does anybody have any more questions? Any more questions?
If anyone's curious about rules and policies and all that, our website has our entire student handbook. Obviously, it'll get edited over the summer for new updates for next year, but there's a lot of interesting sections in there. There's a whole thing on the layout of the dorm rooms and what furniture is provided. There's a lot of, obviously, all of our rules are in there. Our nurse's office has a whole section in there that really goes into a lot of detail of what we provide in that area. We have a psychologist on staff who has the Office of Mental Health and Support Services. There's a whole section in there explaining everything she does. So if you haven't gone onto our website and familiarized with the handbook, please feel free to go. There's a lot of questions there that get answered. There's even a section called the Residential ABCs that has just a bunch of different sort of a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but questions we frequently get asked where you might find a couple paragraphs specifically on any given topic, even some pretty random ones. So I'd encourage you to check that out as well.
And I've dropped into the chat box there the link for the student handbook that Mr. Fetters was just talking about. I've also dropped the link there for the past episodes, if you will, of what makes the Academy exceptional. So if you've missed any of those or would like to revisit them, they're all linked there on that page. And this one should go up probably tomorrow. So it'll be there for you to watch it again if you'd like to do so. Any additional thoughts or comments from either of you, Bridger, Dakota, before I kind of start to wrap things up?
Just appreciate everybody taking the time to join in this, whether you're here live or watching later. We're excited about what we have to offer and looking forward to getting to know many of you in the coming years.
Fantastic. I want to thank all of you for joining in tonight. We appreciate you spending some time with us. You may have noticed I just dropped another link into the chat box. If you will go to that link and fill out the form and mention this program, I will send you some very cool Academy swag. So definitely do that. Again, you'll want to fill out the form and mention that you were at this program on it, and I'll send you that swag. So again, Mr. Fetters, Mr. Niles, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you to all of our participants tonight. And if you do find you have other questions after this ends, please feel free to email me or give me a call, and I'm happy to get answers for you on all of those. Again, thank you so much. Have a great evening.